Welcome. All right, we've got some really interesting source material for you today. It's from a course called ACES.
ACES, yeah. That stands for Academics Create Exceptional Students.
Right. And the excerpts we have cover, well, quite a range, everything from breathing, brain function, all the way to goals and influences.
It really does seem to cover a lot of ground.
So, our mission today, for you listening, is to kind of unpack these different sessions from the course outline, pull out the main ideas as they're presented, and see how the source tries to link it all together.
Yeah, it definitely takes a holistic view.
Yeah.
It connects your internal feelings and states, what's going on outside, and then gives these practical techniques.
For self-improvement, basically.
Exactly. It's framed around understanding yourself, understanding your environment, so you can then, consciously create the results you want. So let's walk you through the key bits from each session we have here.
Okay, so session one. The course literally starts right at the beginning, focusing on the power of your breath. The source puts this first, calls it foundational. Why start there, do you think?
Well, it seems to signal right away that the course emphasizes, like, personal control, starting with something super fundamental.
Yeah, something everyone has access to.
Exactly, your breath. Now, these particular excerpts, they don't go super deep into how it's powerful, just that it's session one's topic.
But its position says a lot.
Right. It suggests, this is ground zero, internal awareness, internal control before you tackle anything else. Sets a theme, really.
Okay, makes sense. So established breath, then session two jumps into how the brain works. The source material mentions defining the brain, looking at components, and interestingly, exploring the left brain, right brain idea.
Yeah, that's fascinating, isn't it? How it brings in that popular concept, distinguishing between the hemispheres.
Like logic on one side, creativity on the other.
Precisely. The source lists characteristics, logic, analysis, numbers for the left, creativity, imagination, emotional intelligence, rhythm, feelings for the right, that kind of thing.
And it suggests a test.
Yeah, it mentions a quick test in the material,
Hmm.
presumably to help you see which side might be more dominant for you, based on those sorts of traits.
And there's this analogy it uses, the ultimate computer.
Right. Which immediately gets you thinking about the brain in terms of, like, inputs processing outputs. It's a powerful metaphor they're using there.
Okay, so we've got breath, brain. Then session three shifts gears quite a bit, doesn't it? It moves outwards.
Completely, yeah. Session 3 is called Mind Programs.
Yeah.
This is where the source starts looking at external influences.
And it lists things like television, music, movies, video games.
Mobile devices, too. Specifically, iPhones and Androids are mentioned. And social media, of course.
Basically all the modern inputs.
And the source seems to really push for critical thinking about these. It asks things like, 5 ways television is dangerous to your mind.
Provocative.
And how is your phone changing you? It even points towards finding ways to, quote, limit the damage of mobile devices.
So it's not just acknowledging them, it's framing them as potentially problematic.
It seems so, yeah. And there's a section under more mind control that includes a pretty strong statement.
Which is?
Your thoughts are not your own.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And it specifically calls out marketing, movies, and music in that context, suggesting these are, powerful forces actively shaping how you think. It's definitely meant to make you stop and consider.
All right, so building on the brain's workings and these potential external programs, the course then seems to pivot towards giving you tools. Session four.
Exactly. Now it's practical. Session 4 introduces what seems to be a core technique, the RRV technique, MARV.
Which is an acronym for?
Meditation, affirmation, relaxation, visualization.
Okay, MRV. And it gives instructions for meditation.
Yes, quite specific ones, actually. Sit with your feet flat, spine straight, palms on your thighs, legs uncrossed, and just watch your breath.
For how long?
It starts with 10-15 minutes, and it says to increase the time as you get more comfortable. Pretty standard mindfulness instruction, it seems.
Right. And affirmations. What does the source say about those?
Well, it points out something interesting, that we use them all the time, unconsciously.
How so?
Like when you say, oh, this will never work, or I just can't afford that. The source states that the, quote, creative aspect of the brain immediately becomes committed to this being the truth.
So it's saying your casual negative self-talk actually shapes your reality according to this model.
That's the implication, yeah. It stresses becoming, quote, responsible in your speaking, basically. Watch what you say, because your brain's listening and acting on it.
And the practice it suggests for this sounds intense.
It does. The source outlines saturating your mind with desired affirmations for 30 days. By writing them 100 times daily.
100 times, wow.
Saying them when you wake up, concentrating on them when you rest, reciting them when you're waiting somewhere, memorizing them. It's presented as a serious commitment.
Definitely takes effort. Okay, what about relaxation? The R in MARV.
This part's framed as, easier said than done. The source links stress to trying to control everything.
Which feels relatable.
For sure. It suggests you need to examine your belief systems to really learn how to relax. It mentions looking at different authors, though doesn't specify which ones in this excerpt.
And there was something else unusual mentioned there.
Yes, kind of tucked into the relaxation section is a slide asking, "Are you indigo?" And it mentions listening about indigo children.
Interesting connection to make under relaxation.
It is. It's one of those specific elements in the source material that stands out.
And the final part of MARV, visualization.
The V. The excerpts confirm it's the last component, but they don't actually detail the technique itself, just that it's part of the MIV package.
Okay, so let's recap where we are. You understand your breath, your brain basics, the external programs, and now you have this MRV technique. Session 5 seems to be about putting it all together.
Exactly. Session 5 is called Create Your Outcomes, and it explicitly links back to using what you've learned, especially MARV. It's all about setting intentions or goals.
And it gets specific about these goals.
Yeah, it guides you to write down your top 3 outcomes. And it gives examples relevant to students, like your grades, your participation, your achievements.
Those tangible goals.
Right. And it mentions linking this to material on the importance of writing your goals down.
Yeah.
Seems to emphasize that act of writing.
And the core practice it recommends is MRVt.
MRVt. Yes. The source explains this means taking time, maybe 10 minutes daily, sitting quietly.
Using the meditation part.
Right. And then using your imagination, the visualization part, to see yourself actually accomplishing those goals you wrote down.
Not just seeing it, but feeling it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It says allow yourself to feel the success now and even imagine others celebrating with you. It's about embodying the feeling of achievement beforehand. Uses the affirmation and relaxation components implicitly there too, perhaps.
So MRV isn't just 4 separate things, it's a combined practice for goal achievement.
That seems to be the idea presented. The session title is It's All About You, and it's just doing this MRV routine daily upon waking, before sleep, maybe after school, making it a consistent habit.
Okay, I'm marving your goals. Then we get to the final session covered in these notes, Session 6, the healing arts.
Yeah, this feels like a natural extension, doesn't it? Moving from achieving external goals to deeper well-being.
So what's the framework here? It mentions MEPS.
MEPS, the life quadrant. The source decodes this as tackling the root cause of issues by making changes in 4 areas, or lifestyle movements.
4 quadrants.
Right. To heal deeply, the source says you need to identify, analyze, and transform each of these 4 areas. It presents them as key dimensions of life.
And it connects specific healing arts to each one.
It does. For the mental quad, it mentions approaches like those in Heal Your Body, and specifically references Louise Hay.
Okay.
The emotional quad is linked to EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. The source describes EFT as helping move stuck energy from your mind, body, spirit.
Right. EFT, the tapping technique. Physical.
The physical quad section focuses on high-quality nutrition, specifically mentioning how food affects the brain, and also alkaline water.
Interesting focus there. And the last one, spiritual.
The spiritual quad. This is addressed, according to the source, through Bach flower remedy, which it calls the spiritual essence.
You know, looking back at the outline, it's interesting how the course structure itself seems built to reinforce learning. It's not just lectures.
No, definitely not. Each session outline mentions activities, things like watching videos, doing journaling exercises.
Tracking quizzes. There's even a pop quiz for Amar mentioned.
Right, and often there's a debrief section at the end of a session.
What does that involve?
The source consistently asks users to write down their results or reflections in a journal, sometimes share insights with a buddy.
Or even email a paragraph about what they learned.
Exactly. It points towards a very interactive, reflective model. You're meant to process and apply the information, not just passively receive it.
And then after the 6 weeks.
The material says ACS is complete and asks for feedback on the course.
So let's try and summarize this journey through the ACS source material. We started with the real basics, breath power.
Then into the brain, how it works, that left-right brain idea.
Followed by a hard look at external influences, media, phones, social media, these mind programs.
And then it gives you the MRV technique, meditation, affirmation, relaxation, visualization as a tool to manage your internal state and focus.
Which you then apply in session 5 to actively create your outcomes, your goals.
Using that MRV-IT
Wow.
practice.
And finally, it broadens out again in session 6 with the healing arts, looking at well-being through those 4 MEPS quadrants: mental, emotional, physical, spiritual.
It really presents itself as a comprehensive system, doesn't it? Aimed at helping students, well, really anyone, understand themselves better and then consciously shape their experiences.
Yeah, this deep dive really highlights how interconnected the course presents these areas. Your breath affects your state. Your brain takes in external info. You can use techniques like MARV to direct your mind, and healing involves all these different dimensions.
Mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, all linked, according to this source, and addressable through specific lifestyle movements to get to the root cause.
It definitely leaves you, the listener, with a powerful central idea from the course material. Considering all the influences the source says are out there, and the internal tools it suggests you have, what outcomes are you going to consciously choose to create? Makes you think, doesn't it?